In this episode, we're going to look at the RØDE smartLav and see if that's the new best cheap lav mic available out on the market. Check this out. Now, we've done several previous reviews of inexpensive lavalier microphones. First of all was the Audio-Technica ATR-3350, which comes in at about $20 US, very inexpensive, and if you record it into a decent recorder, surprisingly good sound quality. Next, we also looked at the Giant Squid Audio Labs lav mic. That is actually one of my favorites up to this point. It's about $40 US. It produces phenomenal sound for a microphone that cheap, but there's a big problem with that, and that is availability. It's very hard to get your hands on one. Most people are reporting at this point, and it's about, it's July, early July 2013, that most people putting in their orders for that are getting them about 8 to 9 weeks later. So it's taking a long time. These are handmade by a fellow by the name of Darren Nemeth in the United States here. And Darren, if you're watching this, stop watching and get back to work. Lots of people are waiting for their microphones. This one is just really tough to get your hands on. So not necessarily the best cheap lav mic because it's so hard to get your hands on. Now, this is a new entrant onto the market, the RØDE smartLav. It comes in at about $60 US. It actually is kind of difficult to get your hands on this one as well, though it does come into stock from time to time. I got mine at B&H Photo. They are very good about telling you when it's in stock, so if you go to their website, look up the RØDE smartLav. If it's not in stock at the time, you can put your email address in and they'll let you know as soon as it is available. That's exactly what I did. I just got it. It was released about 6 months ago. I don't believe it's on Amazon yet. They're selling it through the professional audio channels first. But in any case, let's take a look at that. This entire episode is recorded with the RØDE smartLav, and in this particular case, I'm recording into my iPad. Now, we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later, but this is the third generation iPad. It's the first one with the Retina display, but it's not with a Lightning connector. So if you're going to get really hardcore in making the evaluation about this mic, we also need to look at the recording device, and in this case, that's exactly what we're using. Let me just say about the build quality of this mic. I think of the other two I mentioned, the Giant Squid and the Audio-Technica ATR-3350, this mic seems to be much better built than both of those, and it looks like it would withstand the rigors of the RØDE, if you will, a lot better than both of those. Evidently, the cable has some Kevlar in it. All the connections seem to be top-notch. The clip that comes with it is very good. The foam wind cover that comes on it screws on and stays on very nicely. All very top-notch, like you would expect from a company like RØDE. So really, really pleased with the build quality, and it's much better than both the Giant Squid and the Audio-Technica ATR-3350. Now, if you compare it, of course, to higher-end mics, it's pretty comparable there too. It's not quite as nice as my Audio-Technica AT899, but again, for $60, I think you're getting a great mic in terms of build quality. Now, the all-important question, what is the sound quality like on this microphone? You're going to pay about 60 bucks. For a lot of us, that's it's not a totally trivial investment, but it is definitely cheaper than most of the professional mics. So what does it sound like? Is it really that great? Well, there's a couple of considerations here. The mic is only one piece of your audio recording chain, of course. What you record into is also very important. Now, taking a look back at the other two mics that we reviewed in the past, the Audio-Technica ATR-3350 and the Giant Squid Audio Labs lav mic, both of those produce very good sound when you record them into the Zoom H1, for example, a dedicated audio recorder. I think that the Giant Squid is even better in terms of its overall frequency response for dialogue. But they're both pretty good, and with a little bit of EQ, I think you can really get that Audio-Technica sounding very nice as well. So up until this point in the video, we haven't done any EQ. We haven't added any effects. The only thing we've done is normalize levels to bring them up, so you didn't have to play with your volume knob the whole time and try and get it just right. But this is what it sounds like so far. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's stop talking for just a second so you can hear what the noise generated is like. I have noticed that this mic does seem to make a little bit, it does have some hiss, some definite digital noise in the signal somewhere. Now, my question was, is that noise in the mic or is that noise in the preamplifier on the recording device? So again, in this case, up until now, recorded on the iPad. I assume that the iPhones would have a very similar audio circuit. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have an iPhone at the present time, but I would assume it's pretty similar to this. And I wondered, is this an issue with, again, with the iPad all that hiss, or is that the microphone? So I plugged it into my mobile phone, and this is what I got. All right, we are now recording into an Android device. This is the LG P999, which is branded as a T-Mobile G2X. Pretty old phone, probably 3 years old, but this gives you an idea of how it can sound very, very different on a different device. So I feel like on this device we're getting a lot more low end. However, I also noticed that this one clipped more often, and when it clipped it made a very kind of ear-piercing staticky noise. Very, very unpleasant. I didn't run into that problem on the iPad as much, so you got to be really, really careful on this one as far as keeping your levels right and keeping them under control. Now, RØDE does not make the RØDE Rec app for Android, so you're kind of on your own. In this case, I'm using a recording app called Smart Voice Recorder. It might be the voice recording app that is having the problem with the clips, I'm not sure, but definitely probably not something I would use. I would definitely stick with an iOS device, at least relative to this device. So just a really quick basis for comparison to show that you are going to get a different signal when you go into a different type of device. All right, we're now back to the iPad as our recording device, and from this point forward I went ahead and did some EQ to see if I could improve the overall sound of the signal that we're getting, and we could include in our final video. So this should give you an idea of the kind of what you could do to improve what comes directly off the recorder. Again, not really a big fan of the particular Android device that I had. If you are interested in understanding whether your particular Android device works okay with this mic, go ahead and check out RØDE's website. It's not a perfect list. My phone was not listed there, but technically it works. So just something to keep in mind there. A little bit about the RØDE Rec app. RØDE Rec app does not come with a mic. You have to purchase that. It is about $5 US, available in the App Store. And again, they don't make it for Android devices. It's only for iOS devices. It is actually technically an iPhone app. So when you have it on your iPad, it's actually one of those little ones you can stretch it out if you want to fill the whole screen. But it is a very nice app, and the thing I really like about it is that you get the waveform showing as you're recording, which is really helpful when you're trying to get your levels set right. To have that visual feedback and knowing exactly where you're at. Also, it records in 48 kilohertz, which a lot of the other apps don't do. So that makes it sync up really nicely with any of your video, which is super helpful. And it also has some other features in terms of actual audio processing. I didn't find those very helpful. I tried one of them, and they're actually made by a pretty well-respected company, Isotope. But what I found is that when I actually ran them, I got this horrible compression pumping sound, which was really, really bad. So I'll have to play around a little bit more with that. But just as a straight ahead recorder, it works really nicely. So overall, in the end, is this a good mic? I think it's a pretty good mic. Is it better than the giant Squid Audio Labs or the Technica ATR-3350 recorded into a Zoom H1? I think in terms of audio quality, probably not quite as good. It does sound a little bit more, and again, I think it's mainly the device you're recording into. It has a little harsher sound to it. But I think in EQ you can do a little bit to make it work nicely. Super convenient. It totally beats the other two in terms of convenience, and in terms of build quality, it's also better. The RØDE Rec app is pretty top-notch as well. So I think it's really a good choice. I'm not going to say that it is the best new cheap lav mic out there, but I think it could be a good choice for many of us that are doing, especially on location video work. So thanks for checking out the show. If you'd like to get more videos on how to improve your sound and lighting for video, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.